We always start with telling you a bit about ourselves, and you look real anxious to do
Yes,
that.
I'm very excited. I am a hearing maker from Northwest Oklahoma in a little town. I've been on some of your forums before, but anyway, I've been conversing or transitioning for a while, and I was thinking to get some tips of
You zoomed with us.
Yes, I have.
You're in Oklahoma, out there in the middle of nowhere.
Surely in the middle of nowhere.
So
I can attest to that.
I'm Dr. Olson, and Dr. Cowden told me 20-some years ago that I had mercury toxicity, and I went through a detox program. I went to Steve Evans and got all my mountains out. And so my practice name right now is Natural Dentistry of North Texas, and I get calls from people asking me if I've got ozone and I don't, and so they're moving on. So
you're getting ozonated.
I need to upgrade my natural dentistry.
Ozone, people they do come to you for ozone. It's like they don't even know why they need it. They just want it.
They say you got ozone. Okay, I'll come in.
Yeah,
That's what I hear. Anyway, I haven't got my ozone yet.
But you signed up now to get generated.
I talked to a couple vendors.
Phil and Bob to get the course and that. And good, beautiful.
I'm Bill Irwin. I practice outside Toronto, about 60 miles, and let's see what else do you want to know. I had mercury toxicity 2003, 4, 5, and then I was treated in Toronto, and then my wife found IAOMT on the internet, and we didn't come here, but we went to Florida in 2006. And this would be about our 8th meeting. Wow. I don't know. So we've never done this, hang around on Sunday, so I have no idea what happened.
Our flight's late, so we got to come.
All right, thank you for coming. These guys are, you'll see, we have more experience in the room too.
So I'm Debbie Irwin, and I'm a restorative dental hygienist. And so I am actually going to be part of the pilgrimage of hygienists being certified.
Nice. But you said you describe yourself
I'm a
as
restorative. It's a specialty after hygiene in Ontario. So I could place restorations, I can sneak around as many hours, do airway, and orthodontics.
you can replace mercury or
I
no?
cannot remove, but I can replace.
Composite.
So I have training.
In UK, they allow them to get certified. They can actually remove it.
I don't want to do that. That's dangerous.
We have our first. You don't want to. We got a smart certified hygienist in the UK. Wonderful.
Do you air pulse?
No,
To teach that?
I don't do hygiene
Oh, okay.
at all. I just do restorative.
Do hygienists in your office air pulse?
No. But interested in learning more about it?
Go ahead.
Okay. No, because when you say restorative, that restores, root surfaces and it doesn't tear up tissue. Anyway,
Go ahead. You go.
Wisniewski, I practice just north of San Francisco, the other side, the good side of the Golden Gate Bridge. So I teach ozone too, so.
I'm just a past audiovisual guy.
Oh,
Wayne's been around for a long time. It's the most
Since the 90s.
senior guy in the room. You know Wayne King?
no, I don't know.
Wayne King.
Boss, please meet you.
From Nashville. I was in Atlanta 20 years and then I moved to Nashville after I retired. Yeah.
What do you do when you retire?
Well, what made me retire, yeah, you should know this. I had open heart surgery. All right. I testified at the FDA hearing 3 times. once in '91 where I threatened to open a capsule of mixed amalgam in front of the FDA panel in the basement of their building. And they were like, you're not going to open that in here, are you? And I'm like, well, why not? Y'all ones is so safe. And so next time they told me this to bring a video. And so, but I didn't know it in '06. They actually had 2 big bouncer-sized guards standing behind me because I was going to repeat it and they decided not to have any more hearings in the FDA basement because Wayne might go jihad on them, okay? And so they decided to have it at the Holiday Inn in Rockville, Maryland. But unbeknownst to me, but they had 2 big guards behind me ready to arrest me and take me down if I had dared push the button on my amalgamator with the little capsules, and they said, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, I'm going to do a little science experiment. And they said, well, what is it? I said, you'll see when I do it. And they were like, you're not going to do it. Because I had my $10,000 Mercury vapor machine. I was going to pop the top and sniff it and show it's over 2,000 pegs per meter. And they were like, So they took my machine away so I couldn't do the demo in front of them, and that's what I said in 10 when I went back. It's on YouTube. You can see I just chewed their butt off, all right? And that didn't do any good. Might as well beat my head against the wall for all the good that it did. However, in '06, I said, well, you know, I really shouldn't be here. I should be 6 feet under, thanks to you people. I said to the FDA, this panel, because you didn't tell us in dental school or since that the mercury leaks out, but my vapor machine shows that it most certainly does. And I was thinking, what am I going to tell them at my 5-minute speech? And they said, well, I went to PubMed, and I put in heart and mercury, and I came up with 2 articles, one in '75, which I wouldn't believe if I read it the year before I graduated anyway, but, and '84, which said that long-term exposure to low-level mercury vapor in rats and mice, which we do for a living, causes aortic lesions. And I had an aortic aneurysm that blew out on the table in the doctor's face. You got 2 minutes to live. I'm a miracle to even still be here. Okay? That was 15 years ago. And God saved my life. Okay? So, what I told my classmates was, a year ago, is while you can still afford it, buy as much personal disability insurance as you can, because if you live long enough, you're going to need it. And then the president of my class came back with brain cancer. Battery said, Wayne, that was really good that you told him that. But anyway.
It's interesting because in Mass, my insurance agent told me that Dentistry on the list, they won't sell it.
They won't even sell it anymore. Yeah. Wow.
It's on the short list of people not to deal with. We're mean too.
Thanks.
Yeah.
We're just introducing ourselves and
Yeah, so I'm actually, I'm not a dentist, I'm a physician, but I kind of came to get some kind of background to really understand the spectrum of, jumping through the, hoops and like explaining patients why all dentists are not created equal,
Where do you live?
Wisconsin.
Why?
Like north part of Milwaukee, suburbs.
do you fish muskies?
Huh?
Do you musky fish? Never musky fish? You and I have to talk after.
Hi, I'm Lauren Gleason. I'm an associate dentist in Huntington Beach, California. And then our practice is in the transition of going over to holistic dentistry.
Nice, nice. All right.
And my name is Brittany Reed, and I'm RDI, and I work in the same practice.
Uh-huh. Nice, all right.
Hi, I'm Ana Maldonado, and I'm from San Antonio. And this is my 2nd meeting, and I've been doing the safe amalgam removal. I'm not certified, but I've been doing that.
Doesn't count.
I know. But it's like, I was very sick too. I was very sick. I had migraines, I had shingles like 5 times in 1 year. And it was heavy metal toxicity from being exposed to the mercury, like we all know.
You still detoxing, right?
Oh,
Of course.
forever. I'm Shaden Torstenson. I'm a general dentist in Atlanta. I was smart certified last year, but I've been trying to find a place where I can practice that. I'm an associate, so either try to buy a practice or is it?
And where in Atlanta? Do you want to move north? We have a lot of different, there's a lot of people looking right now, so we can hook you up, no doubt.
I'm Robin Franzig. I practice biological dentistry. I'm here in Dallas.
I'm David Rose, I'm a French dentist. I live in Dubai, and we have a biological dentist.
You're our first Dubai member,
Yes.
remember?
Yes.
Yes, I got, they sent me notes, we have somebody from Dubai.
Judo Cedric Cook.
Thank you for coming.
Sorry.
Judo Cedric Cook.
Cedric.
Cedric Cook.
Ah, yes, the cook, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. He,
Moved back to Belgium. Yeah. Cool. Awesome.
Hey, I'm Dr. Brian Trevino from Austin, and this is my second meeting, and I just loved this session last time in Boston. It was awesome.
I'm actually a physician assistant at an integrated medicine practice, but we wanted to kind of like you to learn the ins and outs and what it's like to have a biological dentist.
Good idea.
My name is Javier Moreno. I be all my life dentist in Mexico City. And now I'm helping Anita in her practice in San Antonio.
So you,
It's the first time that I do.
but you practice in Mexico City?
Yes.
Are you SMART certified?
No, I would like to.
You should do it.
Yes.
A lot of people going down to Mexico, they're looking for smart dentists.
Yeah.
You know?
I would like to, yes.
We only have one other dentist in Mexico that has been to meetings. I think he's been to like 8 meetings.
Yeah, I think he lives in Tijuana.
You know him?
Yesterday I knew him.
Yeah.
For 2 guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, we had several from Mexico because this has like been a trend of everybody, you know, going south because it's cheaper down there. But we want, which is fine by me, but I just like to know that they're doing it correctly. If you put that smart on there, you'd be smart, you know. So,
Thank you, yes.
yeah,
Well,
good. Well, thank you guys all for coming. I'm right here, Mark Wisniewski. You got to use your hand, Wisniewski, or just call me Waz. Everybody calls me Waz. And all right. And there's my contact information. I was blessed with being the first smart dentist in the world. That's my claim to fame. I can now retire. So, you can contact me with any questions anytime. That's my cell phone. I'm always here to help. I'm the international chair. In the academy now we have this new policy. We used to let everyone run their own little chapters around the world, and now we're going to be one in the world. So the academy is going to become a very powerful force in the world now, because we're going to be having meetings in Brazil, have a meeting in London, we'll have a meeting in Japan, and so hopefully if you'd like to travel, we're going to give you some destinations that are going to be pretty cool, I think. I'm on the social media committee, and I'm off the screen. That's what I look like on social media. Let's see if I can get that back. Yeah, how do I get off the screen like that? We thought it was okay. How about there? Yeah, so I go on there and cause trouble. I've been kicked off of more groups than you belong to, I'm sure. That my assignment was to join a bunch of professional groups on Facebook and teach them about IAOMT and SMART. And they like that, some of those guys. There's a lot of dentists on Facebook, lots. I mean, we're talking groups of 20,000, 25,000. It's like crazy if you're not a Facebooker. But I knew from the beginning it's because of the mercury toxicity. They become big yeah groups. They're insecure. They have to make sure everybody's doing the same thing. You know, this is what I did. What do you guys think? You know. It's different than the MDs don't seem to be on. We have these quite big groups, is what I observed anyway. So I went through. I've been to Facebook hell, and I've moved on. I'm still spending too much time there, but I that's my job. I do it. So when go ahead.
Sorry, can you go back to that one more time? I've been trying to take a picture like 3 times of your contact info.
My contact, I'll have it at the end. Are you going to be here till the end?
No, go back. Go back to that.
Go back, all the way?
It's not the trigger finger.
Oh, okay, I see. Here. You want that?
Yeah, that. Everybody's all excited about that, so.
All right.
You said we can call.
Trigger finger.
Yeah, you do. You kept going back and forth.
So it's pretty simple. I try to make it simple, and I learn how we've been doing this many times to people. Oftentimes, if they're new, by this time on Sunday, they don't know what to do, whether they should get a new job or what. But so it's simple. You know, when people come to you and they want to have biologic dentistry, it's very simple what they're concerned about. They're concerned about their mercury fillings. They're wondering about fluoride. Now it's becoming a big awareness with osteonecrotic with jawbone lesions. And what's your opinion on the root canals? And that's it, you know. And they expect you to address every one of those. They just expect it. And if you don't say anything, they assume they're just good. So you might not have an opinion on these things yet, but you should be aware that you need to develop and that it's kind of expected. And we have a thing where we call this biologic dentist, which is science-based, versus holistic, which is more of holistic stuff. We would call maybe muscle testing holistic. It's not we don't have any hard science on that I've ever seen. So the academy is okay with all that, but you have to decide what are you doing. Are you doing biologic dentistry, doing lab testing, or are you doing muscle testing and putting crystals on their head? You know, that's okay. It's amazing. I learn every day about things that work. And I'm always open to learn, but it's a little bit of a test.
But the public doesn't know the difference between biologic, integrative, holistic. So they have no idea. All they know is that they want their silver filling out. So it's more a matter of like what that patient that's on the phone is calling about, right? Because if they call up and say, "Are you a biologic dentist?" Well, what is it that they really want? Because they don't know the distinctions.
They don't. That's more for talking amongst each other, probably. And you're right. That they're not. I think more they call everybody a holistic dentist. You know, it's a more known term. But
So I have a question. The board, I guess I'm here in Texas, but what's their position when you call yourself a biological dentist or holistic? Because that's not like an ADA specialty.
Here in Texas, you have to say that you're a general dentist.
no, everywhere.
Therapies, but I've gotten in trouble with the state board for that.
Oh, really?
And
Just by
advertising.
using it, yeah.
Yes, and so I had to change it. I'll always put general dentist practices with natural therapy.
You could say family dentist or restorative dentist.
It's kind of a general rule that the academy suggests is that you're supposed to say you're a general dentist practicing biologic dentistry. You're a general dentist practicing holistic dentistry. You have to Because, I didn't know that you got.
I'm so trying to
They
support.
can't
just sent me a
slap.
letter, I think it's probably a general dentist that just did like an advertisement.
Of course, always is.
I just changed the magazine and
It always is, right? I mean, that's, it's generally a complaint from a jealous dentist down the street. So, I hope, we can talk about amalgams if you don't understand that mercury's really toxic, but the one thing that the only thing that you can really get you in trouble is like if you recommend removing mercury fillings for your health reasons. That's a straight out rule from the ADA. I'm not an ADA member. I don't advise that you support such an organization, but in mass, the board goes by whatever the ADA says. So that's one thing. You cannot say, oh, you have MS, take out your fillings, and imply that if you take out your fillings that you're going to get better. If you want to get in trouble, that's a good way to put it.
Is that still enforced, you think? I mean, I thought that went out when they're.
It would, there again, it would be a complaint from a patient. You're going to get sued, or you're going to get a complaint to the board. I went to him for an exam. He told me to take out all my 10 fillings because I have tremor or headache, and anger. It's an anger thing, whatever. But it's how you. I always very clear in my wording with my patient, but they pretty much understand that I tell them I like what I do for a living. I'm not going to tell you that your MS has anything to do with mercury, but I'll tell you what, I got to get these things out right now. So you just got to word it and don't get yourself in trouble. The key is know your patient. So in my practice, one of the things that we do is before you can become a patient, you have to go online and fill out the forms, and you need to fill out the 7 or 8 pages of, everything about, tell me who's in your family, how many times a day do you poop. I need to know everything about you. And so when you get a patient who fills out all those forms, they're not going to miss their appointment. Number one, solves the new patient no-show problem. And since I've reinstituted the forms, I've only had 2 people that no-show. And I give them 2 hours in that appointment. I've already got the forms. I look up all those medications that I don't know. And I can get a picture of what they are. And then I sit down with them we collect records, but I sit down with them for probably an hour and a half to really know my patient, and it becomes this, they're my friend, and now you have no more, you don't have any more worry about what you say about they're going to the board or something, because they just become your friend, or you can decide whether you're going to even take them on as a patient, without looking at all of these forms. So I suggest you consider that.
So what records are you taking?
I do FMX. I don't do cone beam. I have a surgeon, so if we're going to consider surgery, then we do FMX for analysis of the teeth. Right? Then you might have a cone beam or a cataract for overview. Those are my current. I'm going to go get trained by you for the 3rd time next month, and that's going to be another assessment for me. But and photos. Photos is another record taking at that first visit. And whatever else you're going to do, I don't, what do you want to take models on all your patients? That first is good to know your patient well, so that you can have suggestions.
to be accredited, you have to show your consent form, and it's a really good idea. Ken has a great consent form, but it should say in there, there's no guarantee it will be improved in your health symptoms.
Yeah. Yes, for a consent form, absolutely. If you're gonna use a consent form, and the IAOMT does suggest that you should use a consent form, it should say in there that there's, no health implication, but once you know your patient, you can have a conversation and you can drop F-bombs if they're up, whatever. So it's a good way to go. Then we need doctors, because it's outside of our, what we're qualified to do as dentists is oversee detoxification. So it's really best for you to find a physician to work with, functional medicine or ND or something. It's up to you how you run your practice, but you need to be careful or aware that if you were overseeing, even in the supplement realm, unless you're a naturopath, some other degree, that board could call you out of that. I practice with no fear myself, and I'm very confident with the things that I use to detox myself since I was almost dead and came back to raise hell. So I'm not afraid to explain supplement programs to do it, but it's good, especially if you have a complicated patient. Right away. You've got somebody with SIBO, or they have intestinal, obvious intestinal issues because they have it anyway. If they got multiple mercury, but you might want to make sure you have a doctor to work with if you can. I know you're in trouble because you're out in the middle of nowhere. I think you told me, right?
I have no.
You can do it. I do it myself. Most of my patients for the simple problems, the early problems that they generally are having with mercury fillings, is liposomal glutathione-based detox. I mean, it's that simple. And you can just put them on to Quicksilver and they can do it. It's fairly costly. You can help them and show them other kind of modified ways to do that. And
Chris did the blue box. The blue box is just all in one.
Right.
It goes through. Okay.
Right. So for people that live out in the middle of nowhere, simply you just run by Quicksilver, and this is what you need to do. And it's fairly costly, but you can do it you should do it for a year.
It's like $100 or $150 for the box.
So it's small. The black box is
has
small.
everything in it. It's got everything in it. It's got the clay and the charcoal and the glutathione, and it has a patient book like day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, what they're supposed to do each day.
Okay, he's changed. He used to have the black box. It was like 800.
Right, but I gave him to make a blue box, so that it was really simple.
Well, it's a good thing. If you need to probably, a wise thing would be to go to Shay's YouTube video collection and learn detoxification, how it works, and then it makes it easier for you to sort out the 50 different products that he now makes,
But if they're not pulling it out of the liver kidney, then the glutathione doesn't have anything to flush out. So
I know. It becomes easy, but it's a little intimidating.
Like if you see on questionnaire that people have difficulty with like regular evacuation of BMs, there's like a big exclamation mark to really guide them towards better bowel function. Because you can put the golden box, blue box, black box on the program, nothing's going to work.
Right.
This big avenue is like the highway of detox is like not working. So that has to be actually worked out first.
Of course, yes. Before
whatever it takes, like a gentle system way of for gentle patient or like vigorous or like more solid.
Why do Mark put it that I refer to you?
I mean, there's so many resources out there, books, column, work and things. So like it's like some people will go and some will resist, but at least you emphasize the importance that just you really safe if bowels are working, but if they're not working, you can put supplement kind of.
Yeah, you need to make sure that they're eliminating. I mean, elimination pathways have to be cleared first before you start throwing some metal in there, you know? So, so that's,
Our license doesn't cover poop, though. Our licenses don't cover poop.
no, it doesn't, but you can talk about it.
You can talk.
Once you make friends with them, okay? Once you make friends with them, you can talk about anything, and so then, that's why I suggest to you that, you know, good idea for you to take that initial friend, but everyone runs their practice differently. Some people do kind of more high volume.
No, you can find some liaison with like local nutritionists that are kind of holistically oriented and they will know how to help patients.
Right.
For changing diet and introducing certain products for improving the bowel function, and then you need the business back. Doing the other stuff. So.
Yeah, it was a challenge for me myself to find a practitioner. I went out and I was practicing back when they had phone books, you know, and I had a phone book there, and I was going through and like, okay, that chiropractor, that you know, these doctors look like they could possibly, and I called all their offices and invited them to dinner. I'll buy you dinner. Let's sit down and see what's going on with you. And I only found one doctor that would accept my invitation. So.
Local health food store.
Yeah.
Local chiropractors.
Yeah.
They might have practitioners, so there would be a good source.
Yeah, so I'm trying, you know, you've got to reach out, you've got to, at least for me, I think it should be the other way around, because my doctor, who now I work with, is a naturopath. He hates to be called naturopath because it's so watered down now. But he goes functional medicine doctor, and his practice is probably at least 30% comes from me. You know, I send so many patients to him that he's got a special setup. He moved it over the border to Vermont, so he takes insurance. He can do everything, IV, any prescription, so he practices kind of integrative. I mean, I'm just telling you, people that come to you are also oftentimes looking for this kind of practitioner. So if you make a bond with a practitioner, you're going to be building their practice like crazy. And if the practitioner was smart, they would be coming to the dentist and saying, hey, I can help you. You know, I'll buy you dinner. That's what they should be buying me dinner. But at any rate. So the fluoride, I mean, you have, you know, different areas might have different situations, but pretty much in the United States, we have a problem with this push of fluoridating all the water, and 75 or more % of the United States has fluoridated water, which is an issue. When I started, I thought the Academy was wrong on this fluoride thing because I knew that you needed it to stay alive. So, so I didn't switch, but in reality, when you know and understand the science, then you live in a fluoridated community more than likely, and so you reverse osmosis is for your drinking water. You know, it's very simple. Reverse osmosis, drinking water. Take pink Himalayan sea salt, put a pinch in the water, drink it, be happy. Good detox, happy detoxing. You know, it's either reverse osmosis or it's distillation to remove all of the small atomic and molecules that fluoride forms in the water, the chloramines and all of those things. You need that kind of filtration. But the pink Himalayan sea salt is key to remineralize the water. Yes.
I use a product called Trace Concentrates from a company called Trace Mineral Research, and there are many companies making those concentrated, very bitter drops that have all kind of spectrum of micro and nano minerals. So that's I had like reverse osmosis like 15 years in my house, so I have like bottles of it and just have it.
Yeah, you can use this, I mean, minerals make you healthy, they alkalize your body. I just, a simple thing, pink Himalayan sea salt is mined from the earth. And it has like over 60 different micro minerals, but you can also buy these other mineral products to put in. But the idea being some people don't like the pure water thing because it's slightly acidic, or acidifying. It's going to, somehow, hey, you made it. Somehow it's going to hurt you, but I think that it is important that you get plenty of minerals. And you're going to be drinking plenty of water when you detox.
Pardon me. Just got a question on fluoridation. I live in town, it's not fluoridated, and I worked in another town, it's not fluoridated, but fluoridation comes up, and nobody ever wants it. Like, I don't know why in America people actually want it. I think in Canada, the public's throwing so much shit all the time that the government says, I think this is not a bad idea. They say, we don't want that thing, you don't really trust it. But anyways, I'm just amazed how many towns are fluoridated. And I can name 10 towns easily that are fluoridated.
Well, yeah, the Canadians are smarter than Americans. They are, I tell you. The Americans,
Maybe we don't trust the government.
they suffer for it, even though we fight it too, and they still put it in. It's like political.
But I think the dental community is the one that's been pushing the fluoridation.
Oh, yeah, of
I mean, it's
course.
because of some research that was done 50 years ago. But I think that's the push, and whenever it comes up, the dental community pushes to keep it going.
Well, the ADA is like, it's like one of their agendas. And the ADA now is with in Europe, the group in Europe to push fluoridation in Europe as well. And they are having to fight against fluoride now. In the UK, I know they had a problem in Manchester up in there. And so it's coming. It's coming. So the people need to be aware, and the best we can do is educate the public and hopefully stop the government. But the government now takes this position in the United States. Whatever the ADA says, we stand behind. We don't have time to look at it. That's how it works, and it's very unfortunate. And certainly, if there's any benefit to fluoride, it's topically, and if you like to put poison on there and it helps you out a little bit, well, whatever. But I think it's of utmost importance, and this is always a big question for the public as well. Like they just can't believe that fluoride is bad. It's like, oh my God, you guys are.
What's the benefit for topical fluoride?
You swallow.
You swallow, okay.
No matter, even if it soaks in your teeth, they say within 2 to 3 days it's replaced by your natural minerals. Fluoride is not an essential mineral. So if in your mouth it will remineralize your teeth even after you hygienists destroy them with your Brophy cups and all that. But it will naturally, the idea was remineralization with fluoride.
Yeah, but it creates a more brittle hydroxyapatite, which will also need calcium to have it incorporated into the hydroxyapatite. If you don't have the calcium in your saliva, it's not going to incorporate into your enamel. So what's the point? If you have a dry mouth that doesn't have any calcium in the saliva,
Well,
to swallow it.
So, I have a solution with fluoride. I tell that to people to, have this filtered water, but I put patients on calcarea fluorica, which is homeopathy. So fluoride is actually needed for the system. It's like microscopic, like a nano amount, like a tiny amount, not like fluoride to the toxic. So they have to be for 3 months on calcarea fluorica, calcarea fluorica, and silicia, 6X. Those are like cells, and they typically help the enamel to get stronger because the body will utilize the minerals from the food and from the drinks better.
So But you think, you held that we need fluoride.
I mean, in tiny amount, like in the black tea, like here, like, like one part.
I would say it's natural in its soil,
Yeah, it's
so
natural,
probably
like,
somehow there's,
yeah.
well, we know of no reaction in the body.
So
against fluoride, none.
sometimes I give people actually homeopathy drops, right? It says fluoride, like,
But the people who are oversee the water thing, it's like, okay, so 1962 they put 1.2 parts per million, and then, so in 2017 they changed it to 0.7. Like, okay, where are you coming up with these numbers? You just throw the dartboard.
Well, there's other people got white spots in their teeth, so I want to see what the next generation.
so I am technically on the base fluoride, but like, it's in the food, in the plants, in the earth, the natural environment, in like nano amounts, but very, very tiny amount.
We just don't understand scientifically why you would, it's the most reactive element. All right, it's very strong. We don't have any knowledge. It's an interference for it. So I would not be myself. I would not be adding any. You probably get enough
Yeah, but it's like
air and
homeopathy.
water already.
It's homeopathy,
It's not fluoride. So
program that works, it's fine.
just a couple of ideas for patients ask what would you do. Rather than fluoride, I use the silver nitrate on early lesions. It works beautifully. If your patient doesn't mind having a black spot on their tooth, so you don't have to drill it. It stops the decay, it hardens, and it works. And it's just a black spot. But you put one right there, and you gotta make sure you got one on the other one. But in posterior, I use that sometimes, as a solution. You can use that as a solution in pedodontics, in a child. You can put this silver nitrate and it will harden the decay. Or for sensitivity, I use SE bond. I put a little of that goop on there, and it takes care of sensitivity pretty well. Generally, sensitivity is a root issue associated with grinding and some kind of paroxysm habit, but those are a couple of simple solutions you can use clinically. And people, they want to know it. Wow, what if I can't use fluoride? What am I going to do? I said, well, you're probably going to die because I think they tell us that we got to have it, but you can use, we don't, in my practice, we don't use MI paste because it has saccharin in it. And so I don't like that to use that, but you don't really need fluoride. That's not the answer. It's like that's Western medicine stuff, trying to fix a problem with a pill. Then we have jawbone necrosis and root canals, and that thing that they're going to be asking me about, and that was a late entry into my practice to discuss jawbone necrosis, and where do you see it? You see it here. I mean, what do you see in this panoramics that I route from the internet? This patient is coming to you, they've got a couple of root canals. Are you going to talk to them about them root canals? Well, they're expecting that you might. They might just come and want them out, but you better have at least a judgment of whether you want to keep dead teeth in the jawbone or not. And maybe all the ramifications of that. And what we're seeing in people that are removing these things is like pretty much almost 99% of everybody, 99.9, 100% of my practice, they feel better. Like amazing. Take out a root canal. I ask every single patient, and 100% says they feel better. They didn't feel bad before, but now they feel better. You tell me. I don't want to keep doing that to them. They're going to become Jesus Christ. So, and then they got metal implants, and metal implants, they block the meridians. So if you know about the meridians, that's a big problem. And Dr. Yu will tell you that every single metal implant has got to come out. And the other problem with the metal implants, of course, is metal allergy. And metal allergies, all titanium implants have nickel at some level,
Class
100%.
Class 5 titanium does, class 4 does not. Class 4 titanium does not have nickel in it. Straumann has class 4. All the other companies have class 5 titanium.
My understanding is in order to run the process, nickel is a catalyst, and it is in there in that very small amount.
What percent?
It's still got nickel, even the type 4. I don't care what Straumann says.
Okay.
They got to have nickel to run the
But they also
reaction.
It also has a little bit in it, so there's 6%.
Nickel's the worst. I mean, nickel's the least of your worries. You got aluminum and palladium
And
and
the fact that it oxidizes in the mouth.
yeah.
So now you have rust in your mouth.
It corrodes, when you create the galvanism. So the point being that you can develop an allergy. You can go in, they can go in, and you can be fine with them, but 15 years later, you can start to have an issue if your body somehow has been introduced to a combination that causes your immune system to react. So you might consider, it's up to you, you're the dentist, whether you want to address taking out metal implants as part of their problem. I mean, that area right there, I don't know what those dots are, but that I would say most likely is a cavitation. In my practice, I don't say, I just tell my patient, because I work with a surgeon, I hate blood. So I I think they're going to have to find a problem there. So I introduce them to the whole idea, and I might give them a video to look at or some education if they want to read about that. I don't force it on them, but I say, I think you got a jawbone infection and somebody left some goop down in there or something. And so that might be a problem. I'm pretty sure up here in the number 1 position, that looks like a cavitation right there. That's pretty obvious to me.
So Mark, you said that, okay, root canal treatment we have to remove, titanium implant we have to remove, and varicose cavitation we have to treat them. Do you explain all of that during your first consultation, during the 2 hours of your first consultation?
I since I'm not the surgeon, what I talk to them is like, this is you come to me as for my biologic knowledge. My world of biology, we don't like dead teeth, and you've got a couple dead teeth. I would suggest you would read about it and consider extracting. You're having some health issues. You've got anxiety. You've been having depression, and you've got a thyroid problem. I would also suggest you might consider doing a ELISA test and see if you're not reacting to some of the metals that are in this. It's not just titanium, it's many metals. And over here, this looks pretty creepy, and so does that up there. And I think when you go to my surgeon, you're going to find out you got jawbone infection. So that's about what I say to them, and I get them ready for it. Yes, on the initial consultation, I spend 2 hours with them, and I address all these 4 things that I'm talking to you about.
Because I imagine that your patients, like every other patients, they want to, and they're concerned about the price, so you give them a global treatment plan from the very beginning?
I don't, this part of it is because the surgeon has to get involved in the actual confirmation of the lesion is, the actual confirmation of the lesion is by the cone beam, 3 dimensions. So I don't give them a definitive treatment plan for that part of it. Everything else, yes. Not that part of it,
Can you elaborate on the ELISA test? And the second question, is there anything like the cavitat to detect cavitations anymore, or is that common?
So we have, so ELISA is a T-cell test. For titanium, some people become intolerant to titanium as well. And these metals, the only really true metal test is a T-cell test, not an antibody test. and that is Malaysia, and unfortunately it has to come from Europe. So you have to send your blood there, it has to arrive within 48 hours of draw, and I can do it, they can do it, they said they can get them even from California, but I don't know how would they do it. They're working on bringing a lab to the US, so that it's more central into North America, but the Malaysia test, there's many different offerings of metal tests, but the Malaysia is really the only true metals test that we have right now. And so I think it's very beneficial, and if you have a patient with, I have on my forms also, do you have any metal prosthesis in your body? Because they all interact with any metal in their mouth, and also their problem could also be coming from the metal in their body. So you can offer them this Malaysia testing, and you just contact Malaysia, they send you a kit. I don't get involved other than I order it. I give it to them with the instructions. They have a date with the FedEx. They go from the lab, they run to FedEx with their blood, and it goes on a plane, and it's all coordinated beforehand, and you can get the test done. And it's quite interesting, some of the findings that you might have there. And they get the report, and you've done a great service, and now they can see, and you have understanding maybe better why their thyroid is a problem because they have this. The other question you had was?
You have a device called the Cavitat.
Oh, the Cavital. Yeah, we have a Cavital now. It's coming, Cavital. It's coming from Germany. Lechner has made the Cavital. It was just tried by Elmar Jung in UK for the first clinical trials running the Cavital in his clinic. It's not available here yet, but it was supposed to be available a couple months ago. Now we're a couple months more, and it's coming. It is an ultrasound chairside bone scan, Cavital. It's going to be, I think he said somewhere around 15,000, maybe a little bit less. But it looks pretty cool. I mean, I've seen it a few times. You're running it in a certain way around the bone. It might take you a little time. I probably would use an appointment or something to do it. And I wouldn't probably do it in my first exam with this Cavital. But when I do get the Cavital, which I will have that at some point, it's going to be probably another very important assessment. Perhaps Lechner, of course, says it's more important than the cone beam, but he can fight that out with the ADA, you know? And so, yeah, so I don't, for panorex are not for looking at teeth, but looking at jawbone and kind of give you an overview. And I don't mind looking at them, but it doesn't replace a FMX.
Just like for mercury removal, we can't say things about it improving health,
Yes.
The way to talk about it that should not get you in trouble. What is the way to talk about root canals without getting in trouble?
I say, you got a root canal. I would never have one in my mouth. I said, but if you want to have it, that's fine, but you should read about it. It's dead, okay? We know that it may very well be interfering with that meridian, if you understand meridians. If you don't, well, forget I said that. And it's up to you what you do. Usually what you can see, and they can't see on the panorex very well, but if you're on your PA, you're going to see some kind of lesion. There's always a lesion there somewhere. If you really start looking, there's a lesion there that's going to be evident on the cone beam. And so it becomes very easy for you to say they're all infected because it's impossible to disinfect. And that's a very true statement. And whether your body, it's a challenge to your immune system. So you have dead tissue. Your immune system has to pay attention to this all the time. So it may be you have a good immune system and it's not bothering you. But for me, in my body, I wouldn't have one. And it's up to you. If you want to have that looked at, I'll set you up with my surgeon and he can do all that dirty work.
So match those up to the tooth meridian chart. So those are gut and breast teeth right there. So ask the patient, do you have any gut or breast issues? Then it becomes really obvious. You know, if they're taking products like every night or if they have breast cancer, those have to come out. You know, then it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I asked them about their family history. Your mother had breast cancer? You better read about that. You better read about that. I don't get too much into it.
So I have like 5 cents comments on the question. First of all, like you need to feel like the patient, whether they have a lot of background, whether they did their research online and spoke to anybody, do they have any clue what they know about root canals already. And second thing, like for the dentist to save themselves, about our explanation, there's actually a book by Dr. Robert Kulach and Dr. Thomas Levy, that's titled Toxic Teeth. And have the patient read the book or have it in a waiting room or have them borrow from you or sell it, whatever. And it's like 150 pages and there's a lot of explanation given. And once they read the book, they probably should have more questions. They make their mind.
Yeah, I have the books in my waiting room. They can take them home if they want. And
there's a good article on Dr. Simon Yu website.
some people hand them out. And but I also have lectures from the IAOMT lectures. I keep that as a library, and sometimes I'll send them a lecture if they're able to understand on a little higher level. And then also, I mean, there's lots of information out there. It's up to them. I don't make anybody do anything. As they want me to address, give my view. They know my view. Thank you. Have a good day. You know.
So did you use the zirconia implants?
Zirconia, absolutely. Absolutely, do a lot of zirconia. And
But
it's
zirconia is supposed to be a metal.
It's not a metal. It is not, metal, to be classified as a metal, it has to have certain properties in the periodic table. It has no magnetism, has no electrical conductivity, and when it's crystallized zirconium, it becomes zirconia, and it has no more metal properties.
Right, but it does throw off aluminum particles.
Particles?
Yeah, over time.
Yeah, now ELISA says that they have never seen any systemic problem in their blood work with zirconia.
Right.
So, but is there gonna, when you're putting these things in, there's gonna be particulate, of course. You know, when you put a metal implant in, and when you take them out, there's like little particles in there. You just can't get it all out. It's just a physical thing, right?
That's all. Start by it's not ours. Somewhat.
If it doesn't hurt you, it's okay, I think.
Do you use a liver scan in your practice?
A laser scan.
A liver scan?
I do not.
I use it all the time.
And does it show titanium?
It doesn't show titanium.
So it just does heavy
It's
metals?
42 minerals and 13 heavy metals and silver conjugation. And then I have the toxicologist go over the report with the patient.
Okay, so you find it helpful then?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's immediate. It's
Has it ever been shown against a blood test?
I haven't done that.
This is why I'm like not buying it. I want to see it. I want it to work, but I don't know about if it's actually valid. You know. But yesterday, someone showed me their scan when they first came to the academy. They happened to get a scan, and they were very high in mercury. So
Mine was, well, I did shades, his tooth boxes at $800 early on.
Yeah.
And my levels were high, and then they dropped way down low. And now they're back up, but my aluminum is high plus from all the chemtrails. And
yeah, everybody seems to have an aluminum.
Oh, on my side.
Yeah, we got all of that.
there's probably 41.
Yes, sir.
I have a question. Has the academy figured out like a protocol? Like I do take out, endo-treated teeth, but I don't. Then I decide. Then I can never decide should I put some in there, get some an implant, or because I really focus on getting rid of the tooth first before I jump into anything else. So, what type of bone do they use to put in, or do they use any bone, or do they have is there a protocol for that? Is there a rinse for the socket after you get everything out for all the bacteria you can't see?
Yeah,
So I'm on the cavitation committee as well. Like I pretty much own the academy, I'm on every committee and.
So they own you, one or
So-
the other.
And I actually run an email of surgeons around the world. We have like 40 people on the email. We're trying to exchange, like, what is everybody doing? And then we met on Thursday, the cavitation committee. And we are now trying to gather the information in such a way that we can come up with a solid recommendation. I can tell you that in general, the protocol, if the biologic extraction it also includes ozone. And the general consensus is you need nothing but PRF. There's no foreign matter coming into the situation. But everyone's doing,
Of later history.
yes, blood factors to grow bone. And they want nothing foreign. But everybody's doing soup to nuts. So we're trying to put together, I know a girl in Belgium who was a researcher. She said she would help us with constructing a scientific survey for surgeons to take the time to fill it out. And over 5 to 10 years, we can come up with, like, if you're doing this, it looks better. If you're doing that, it looks better. We have only logical explanations at this point. Pre-conditioning your patient using vitamins and minerals so that they are ready for surgery, bone supplementation for up to a year afterwards. Maybe Malika and would suggest that the week before you're doing the surgery, you should inject ozone there. Then the day of surgery, where there was some question this round about when you extract a tube, some are using piezo scalers to clean the bone very happily and successfully. Some others say you should never touch the bone with a piezo scaler. Now they're saying you should use a laser. So now they're using laser. Then we have the school that do nothing but hand instrumentation. There needs to be cleaning out. Not very many people are using like a round burr to clean the bone around. But the bone needs to be cleaned, the ligament needs to be scraped. The irrigating solution is ozonated water. So you're using ozonated water to irrigate. Then you're using PRF, and then the question was, do we ozonate the PRF or not? Do we, that remains to be seen. So are doing
ozonate everything.
Ozonated PRF, well, this is Mr. Ozone over here.
And then we'll put some exosomes in there and make it grow faster.
Yes, and then stem cells. You can buy stem cells and you can use that as well. All seems like great ideas. These are all like, we're writing the book on this. So you can do what you want, but the idea is to keep it as organic as possible. Stop putting cadaver bone in there, I think is a bad idea. And bovine bone, I don't know what that's going to do to you later on.
It could boo.
Exactly. And then after the surgery's closed up, the patient comes from surgery to me. I ozonate with low-dose ozone around the areas. Then I also put ozone in the ear, ozone in the nose, and then for each week they come back and I'm ozonating an area. Ozone, maybe increase some concentration and then back off again to treat it. The whole time they're taking supplements. And so some people are putting light on there, some people might use some kind of low-level laser. But do we have that? We're trying it. If you want to get on a committee, please come, you need help.
All right. Each one, I do something different, and I think, today, I feel this way. So I don't have any, so I thought, well, you guys probably have a protocol.
This is kind of the protocol, and everybody's pretty much in agreement with what I told you.
Yeah.
Not everybody's doing all of that. Some are doing those extra things or less things. Some people don't have ozone. So, if you don't have ozone, should we just kick them out of the academy?
Totally.
So I think it's a really valuable tool here because you can't clean that bone totally, so that is very, and our patients, we don't want to give them antibiotics, so we want to give them ozone and to help them through that. And during the procedure, it's, most people are giving a drip and a vitamin C drip with steroid and a antibiotic. Maybe some supplement in the drip, and that's been kind of I would say in the committee, in the people that are talking about what they're doing, more of them are doing that than aren't. High dose vitamin C, maybe low dose at the time of surgery. When I had my surgery, I went the next day after my surgery, and I had a 150,000 milligram IVC, and I was healed in days. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but I do suggest to my patients that you should hook up with my doctor in Vermont and consider getting 1 or 2 IVCs after the surgery to help with healing. I think it's very beneficial.
Why steroid in the IV?
Yeah, I have a concern about that, because you remember the doctor in Boston who spoke about glioblastoma in the cancer patients who took a steroid and it raised the sugar, which just proliferates the cancer cells, right? Because of the high blood sugar, and it interferes with healing. So I kind of have a little, you can use other things to bring down inflammation. So,
you should come and be on the committee.
And, okay.
I'm telling you, I'm reporting to you what they're telling me. I don't do surgery.
Rhonda's got a lot of spare time on her hands, if she could join all the committees.
She's working here. The steroid is very low dose. I don't know exactly, I understand it to be low dose, that that they feel that it has made a noticeable difference in the post-op pain. And so I'm not worried. I don't practice with fear. I'm certainly not worried that this person has a glioblastoma and I'm doing this.
it's not that, it is the blood sugar, which that interferes with
So you
healing.
could do anti-inflammatory. I mean, ozone's going to be a somewhat anti-inflammatory, but you could use Tramiel just as easily in your IV.
Absolutely.
Most of them are using some homeopathic.
The biomodulator,
Right, exactly.
LLRT.
Yeah, exactly.
And then,
Yeah, so when my patients go to those bone necrosis surgery, I give them actually like a handful of anti-inflammatories plus like adaptogenic support, like
Homeopathics?
No, actually like a solid herbs. Actually it depends on patients. Sometimes I would do like a more gentle like way, or like if they don't absorb the liquid thing, but on the handful of actually before, like a few hours before surgery, they take the hours after kind of, So like I the only scenario that I put people on, like I tell them take hydrocortisone, extra THEA. So I have some patients with actually both like this actually after like adrenal removal, like you have actually adrenal insufficiency, or like borderline, and they actually need extra hormones. So there was maybe a couple scenarios like even
So I'm going to share with you guys a personal experience.
Yeah.
I'm 55.
Congratulations.
I've had
Congratulations.
yeah, I know. So,
Made it that far.
unmedicated. Anyway, I had a root canal done before I got into dentistry. I had a tooth that was sensitive to hot, and my dentist decided to do a vital endo.
He should be shot.
I know. He's probably dead. Anyway,
Yeah,
regardless. Last year, the tooth had an abscess in the furcation. Like I had cavitation in my tooth in the furca. I had the tooth removed by periodontist. As soon as the tooth came out, I felt so much better. I had swelling, I had bruising, my patients were telling me to go home. I was using Advil for medication. I healed for 4 months, so he put cadaver bone in there. And then 4 months later, I had a metal implant placed, and I used essential oils for everything. So I rinse my mouth with a mouthwash with essential oils. I use essential oils for pain management. And I was up and at it in 2 days. So I used an essential oil blend that had clove in it. It's called Thieves. It's a proprietary mouthwash for a company that I'm not going to mention, but I'm sure some of you guys know what that is. I made a compounded essential oil with about 6 oils that I actually put on the back of my neck before surgery, and I put it on the extraction site. And I was using frankincense. In 2 days, I had no swelling, no soreness, minimal pain. Got my tooth restored on Tuesday before I came to the conference. This is my first conference. The prosthodontist assistant put articulating paper forceps in my mouth, and I got an electric shock. Anyways, coming out.
Sorry, Dave.
But essential oils are amazing for boosting your immune system.
I agree with that, but many of them have so much of antibacterial or this biofilm breaking properties that actually patient can go through some major detox and you don't want it around the surgery. So
I agree
depends
with
on
you.
constitution.
So you see, you opened up the box, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is,
There's
it's
some-
on a journey, right?
There are so many different things. You can do what you want to do, all right? The essential oil thing, I don't know that how it works. I'm sure that there's validity, and you can, if you know how to use it and you're comfortable, I encourage you to use it.
I use it on me.
You know, yes, exactly. You should, and you should use it on your patients too. If you see that you believe in it and you know how to make it work, to me, it's like another organic way to help things along without pills. For me, when I had my surgery, I took one a lead. Took a nap, and then with the vitamin C, I had no pain. I was healed in days. And so, I mean, it's like, but don't think that it's confusing, even though it's confusing.
You gotta figure out what works for
It's
you, right?
very clear. You have an inflammation problem, you have a sterilization problem, and you have a support the body for bone growth. And so we're trying to bring it together, and we invite anyone here who wants to get involved in the committee, capitation committee, please come and help us, because this is a very, very difficult.
Why do that cause making the choices, and what's their problem? They have their personality, they can't make a decision?
We don't have data. We're science, all right? We need data, and we're the ones that are creating the data. So, this is
You have it all right here. You have it all right here. Everybody here is offering you.
I know, but you go to her office, and if you're using ozone, you're crazy because you want essential oils, and you go there and you say, like, you can't do this without ozone. So it's like, it will work. I think it will work. The body wants to be well. And if you just need to get the heck out of its way, and it will get well. So get your gunk out of there that some dentist put in there, clean it up, and your body will get well. For me, I think most important in our protocol is the supplements. Boron, lots of boron. You're using magnesium. I have a surgical protocol that I give to my patients for supplements, and I start them before the surgery, and I suggest they take it for at least 6 months afterwards to a year, and to help grow the bone.
So
Vitamin C is on there. I have, if anyone wants it, I'm glad to send you what I have. Volts has his own. He has his own vitamin packets that he makes, and they have the same kind of materials in there. But I think that it's wise in an ill patient to supplement, to give them, you can't do it with just food when you're that kind of.
I think we talk a lot of all the different things. We forgot to mention vitamin D. I think it's very important.
The most important, vitamin D, K2. K2D, of course, that's on there as well. Yes, and selenium is on there, I believe. I have to look at my protocol again, but yes, there's all those little bone factors that I try to include in that supplemental program. We look to our patients, we test our patients, and their vitamin D needs to be at least 70 before we do surgery. Yes, so you've heard some stuff here in the meeting about vitamin C, vitamin D, and taking, this is most important. In everyday life, right? I mean, you should have high vitamin D. I take it. I take it lightly so.
So let's go back to vitamin C, because you talked about doing high dose vitamin C. All the injectable vitamin C is all ascorbic acid. So ascorbic acid is going to raise your ferritin levels, and ferritin is a disease driver, just like sugar is a disease driver too. So you have to watch it, and you've got to be measuring your ferritin levels if you're going to be doing high dose vitamin C. So, and if you're recommending it for your protocol, for your supplements, for that aftercare, just have to take vitamin C that's not ascorbic acid.
I do, we use buffered L-ascorbate.
Yeah, what?
Unless you take the liposome.
Sure, yeah, I mean, that's great. But I just say that the injectable, the IV stuff that he did was ascorbic.
That's one dose.
I know, you're not going to die from it, I know, I get it, but.
It's not going to cause a problem.
No, I know.
But I take daily buffered L-ascorbate from PERC, pure L-ascorbate, not ascorbic acid.
Okay.
Calcium, magnesium ascorbate. Calcium, magnesium ascorbate, buffer.
I'm sorry.
Calcium and magnesium ascorbate, right?
Yes, it's right, fully buffered with the calcium magnesium.
God, you're smart enough to do it.
If you take ascorbic acid, it depends on the source.
Right.
It can be a problem. And in the U.S., 95% plus of all vitamin C comes from China. Good luck with that. I make sure my vitamin C is not from China.
So where do you get it from? Sorry, where do you get it
Quite a
from?
lot.
Pardon?
Where do you get your vitamin C from?
PERQ. P-E-R-Q-U-E. They have great products. They're all of the ingredients are made in the U.S. And so I feel at least I know where they're coming from. So this is the cone beam, of course, which is the definitive. If you are ever questioned about jawbone lesion, you need to show them that you took a cone beam. Pretty much is state of the art now. That's why I don't do surgery. I mean, you guys can look at that. I'm not looking at that. This is what I'm learning from Dr. Yu. This is acupuncture meridian assessment, and it's a pretty cool thing. I've been there twice. I'm finally going to go do it this time. But you can also very clearly see if you can see it on a cone beam, but isn't it really blocking the meridian? You can use acupuncture points. You can see it. It's scientific because you can see it on the conductance meter as to whether it's very predictable at each acupuncture point, and if it's blocked, it acts totally different. It's amazing. So the patient can put their finger with the ground on the cavitation site. You can check their acupuncture point, and if it's faulty, you've got a problem. Another assessment that I will include in mine, and I'm beginning to use that, and I will bring it to the committee as I suggest people might learn this technique of another assessment you can do at chair side.
So,
Go ahead.
So just on the kind of the devil's advocate side of things, so if you get the patient says, I don't really want to take that item, so would you give him or her some type of regime as far as supplements go to say, you know what, this isn't perfect, but it's better than doing nothing?
Yesterday, infrared.
Inject ozone.
I used to inject ozone and I quit doing that. We had one that when I injected the ozone, goop started coming out all over the place, and then the patient tried to sue me for that. And I was just like, oh my God, all right, I'm done fooling with these things. Like, you either do it right or I'm not going to get involved in it. So, so that was one of my only moments. Okay, I'm not going to start trying to do something compromised because the patient doesn't want to do surgery. So I don't poke at them because they do have goop in them. Oily, black, sometimes blood. Oh, blood comes out. Yes, it's like this.
Gross. If you could pick one machine, what would you do, EAV over Captel or Captel over EAV? Which one would you pick?
Myself?
Yeah. EAV.
I think EAV. I'm going back to refine it. I've been there twice. But this is like amazing stuff. In my practice, if I have a patient that I can't cure, I send them to you. They fly to St. Louis. And he is the best at diagnosis using this looking at, using the meridian, he calls it AMA, acupuncture meridian assessment. It's a little bit different than EAV, and he can do it very quickly. He's like, I know doctors in our academy that go to him for his help, you know. I think it's, so yeah, I picked that. I wanted to show this because this is, you know, in Europe you can use leeches in Russia, and these are leeches from Russia that they actually excrete and increase the blood flow to the area. So he puts them on there as a preconditioning for his before his surgeries, and then you know then you're supposed to like kill the leeches and you do something with them. I think that some dentists have pythons and they let them go and they pond out back. So maybe we're going to grow some big.
That's disgusting.
Come on, I could do that. Look at that other thing. That's like, oh my God. You open that up, this person's got a hole in it.
It's not the pond behind.
So the other thing that they want out of you is you've got to have bio-friendly solutions to what all of this stuff, you know. And so if my patient isn't going to do anything with their root canal, I'm leaving it alone. I did my job, I told you. And then they continue to have health issues, and during hygiene, I might do all my checking as I go out the door. I still don't like that root canal, but that's all right, have a good day, Joe. You know, and I bring it up to them, but I don't, you know, they don't. My people, we love each other. We have no problem. They know my stance. You don't have to force them to do anything.
Is that the pond behind your office with all the leeches in it?
This here, yeah, that's my backyard. That's what it looks like in New England. So you know, you have to make your own decision. What ceramics are you going to use? Most people, consensus now is pretty much vocal fusion for your composite. You know, are you going to use bone substitutes or are you going to use PRF?
I said vocal. I have BioScan, which is more like what you use it with the US approved device. And we test a lot of our patients for compatibility testing with materials, and vocal is not coming up very often as in the grouping that's allowed. And so I'm not using it very much.
What do you use it instead? Grizzly, is it a SGMA?
I can't tell you all that, but it's testing the best.
Grizzly composite?
Yeah, it is a plastic.
What do you do?
So it is a BPA issue with that.
But the interesting thing, but I'm having people with 50 to this, and the other is 60 and above.
And what's the instrument you're measuring with?
BioScan.
BioScan. And what kind of technology? What is it?
Same thing as EAV machine.
Oh,
It was
okay.
here.
Don
Union.
Don
Is it?
was doing it in the Meridian course on Thursday with Simon.
So anyway, that's what I'm, and there's another one I use, I can't remember, maybe it's diamond.
Don't ever use diamond.
Well.
Diamond is the worst composite I've ever used.
Why?
The bond doesn't work, it fails, okay, 100%. I had to replace it, cost me tens of thousands of dollars using diamond crown. The composite stains, I don't care how well you polish it, turns ugly, it washes out, I'm warning you. I don't care if they tell you it's not BPA, it's not what?
I think it's the.
Diamond crown, it's called.
Is it?
Yeah, what's the full name?
It's not the light, it's not the light.
Dynamite.
Yeah. And, you know, it's funny because he claims it's like on a biocompatibility scale, it's lower than, it's better than Voco. But I asked him for the MSDS on it, and all it says is proprietary ingredients. It's like, dude, give me something.
I'm warning you.
Yeah.
It's an ugly
But
state.
anyway, my issue, it doesn't matter that everybody has different things. Test your patients.
Yeah,
Test your patients.
individually.
It's gonna get it closer to where you're not putting something in that's harmful to them.
Right,
Okay?
right.
And that's the whole issue.
Yeah, and I'm not, I'm not even so sure that BPA should be the thing we're looking at, because we suck BPA all day, it's in the air. But, I just say this is what most people are using, I agree with you. And the reason one of the reasons that they use it is because, I don't know what is going on with this whole slide thing. I'm blaming it on Philip, Clifford, Clifford testing is a antibody test. So you can do a blood test and just passed during this meeting.
Lance Ruby says that they don't test for women.
This is not a metals test.
I understand, but that's one of her issues, is they're not testing for compatibility, then therefore the materials may not be good for the person.
So if you want to do a metals test, you have to do Melisa. If you want to do the problem with the Clifford is that it's an antibody test, and it only tests for presence of antibodies. If you haven't put the material in their mouth yet, there's not going to be any antibodies. So, I mean, that's the inherent issue, but the thing that's been the standard testing before you start, I would say that probably putting it into an EAD loop is probably something that might be more convincing. But this is what we have and what we have had, and you can't. It's not an aluminum test. It's not. Although they list the metals on there, it's not a valid test for metals. And the way that Clifford is done is they just test for phenols, general groups, and then they extrapolate that to thousands of dental materials. So I don't know how valid it is. As far as that kind of testing, people are aware of it. This has been used for some time. And some things come right out because they do have composites or they have these exposures and they know that they react to these kinds of chemistry. So it's not a bad idea to have a Clifford before you start and make sure that you're not using and restoring with something they're going to have a problem with. And so all of these issues, need to be kept in mind. Night guards, as well as any removable prosthesis, needs to be made out of I can't even get it up there where it needs to go. There's Rigident, Flexite, and CFS, and that's our three materials that are on nylon for doing restorative, removable stuff, non-metal.
Do you know anything about acetal?
I do not.
I've been doing these partials, and the acetal is the framework. It's like milled, and it's amazing. Like the function is amazing, but I don't know about chemistry.
Yeah, I would look at it. I mean, I don't, certainly these are the three that I know about, these free materials, but I'm sure there's probably others that are being developed and that are out there that are better than what I have.
What's the third one we can't see?
You can't see, it's called CFS, and I don't know what that is, but my laboratory says that they use it for injectables. CFS, C as in cat, F as in Laurel. CFS, Sam, yes.
What lab are you using?
I use LSK 121, I think it is, right? Yeah, and they're good. It's amazing for this huge lab how good quality they can put out. Your night guards, I do a lot of appliances, and most important, every single patient that comes has a BPA guard. So we pretty much replace their guard right off the bat. But it's made out of some BPA material. They stain. You can tell a nylon guard, it doesn't stain. It's pretty clean, clear looking, no matter how old it gets.
And that was Alice who making those.
Yeah. I asked for the bio-friendly material.
I did too, and I had a patient, I literally had to get the MSDS sheet.
And they're such a big lab, they're not really good at responding. It's tough, I good luck on that, because I wanted to get the detailed information for you guys, and they sent me like, oh, this is who owns our lab, and blah, 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 but I'm like, and these are the materials, 3 materials we use, but they did give me the details of what the materials are. So, but you can see the difference in what all the traditional kind of materials we used and the staining when you use these because they're nylon, they don't have a monomer. So the link is, long chain without this kind of release of material. So, so think about everything you're doing. If you're going to do a root canal, they do have, there is this in the academy, this kind of small fraction that still wants to do root canals. They use biocalyx instead of guard torture. And you can go onto the IAOMT website and look at that, and then you can be like me and you can do root canals for a while. Then pretty soon you can say, well, that was probably a bad idea. Now we should maybe, and I should take it out, and then we should put an implant. This is a great business, we get to poison them, and then we get to take it out, We evolve, I remember when I went back to my practice, I had done, when I found the IAOMT, I had to tell people that the mercury fillings that I put in some years ago, not too long ago, all should come out, and I only had one person question me, and I was like, look, I learned something. Would you like me to keep it a secret, or should I tell you about it? Like, this is poison, and this is how it is. And my patients, 100%, they appreciate it. They don't question. I always tell them, this is like a business, we've got to create our own. It's like being in the pharmaceutical company. We give you vaccines, and then we give you something to calm you down afterwards. I think that biologic dentistry is the most important key right now in the health system, because we can see so much in the problems and we can direct them to the right physicians. Because they're going to conventional doctors, they're going to conventional dentists, and they're never going to be seen by the right doctors. So if you can get them in your office, you need to have that right doctor to send you to. Because otherwise, you need a team, and if you don't like one, you need a surgeon. So, we probably talked about all of this. You have toxicity because you have bioaccumulation. That's the biggest. What you learn is that every disease, every sickness, everything is underlying metal toxicity. It always starts with metal toxicity because it accumulates, and the half-lives on the metals are decades. So you have this kind of issue that eventually it can come up as Lyme, or I think also mold has a metal component. So the metals, even if they don't have metal in their mouth, are generally part of the picture. And it's because of bioaccumulation. And it started when we were kids, and we had lead pipes, and it's in your food, and you're eating rice from Arkansas, and it has arsenic. And so detoxification is most important. Is BPA a problem? You'll have to decide if that's a problem for you. It kills me when I look at my slide. I apologize. I don't know what they did to me here. It's toxicity is different than allergy, and so the allergy is either antibodies or you have different, immediate, delayed, these different types. But for metals, you need ELISA. Now, for the others, maybe we might want to use some kind of EAV testing, which might be better than Clifford. And now with just Clifford dying, I think his son's going to take over the business, but we'll see what happens. And it's just happened this weekend. Very intelligent man. Thank you so much for coming. So you should be aware that allergy, anything that we have in the mouth, it has potential for allergy, and maybe you need to think about that. Certainly when you put it in, but certainly when what they have in their mouth is most important. But then I think that the thing that is never emphasized enough is this last category, the physically altered function. You know what that is? This is what problem many people have, galvanism. And so you have your patient who maybe doesn't even have any mercury showing, but they've got gold crown, a metal implant, and 3 or 4 different kinds of metal. And galvanism is huge. And so this particular, these mercury tattoos where we were told that dentists, I know that dentists shake and stuff, but they aren't quite that sloppy. These aren't caused by sloppy mercury filling placement. That's a galvanic reaction of the metal going into the bone. What it looks like in my research is that depending on the galvanic situation, it goes through the pulp into the bone, and it ends up, depending on the flow, in the tissue. And that's what we get this amalgam tattoo. It's not from amalgam sticking in the bone. So
I'll take a radiograph and I can see particularly that corresponds with the tattoo.
you've seen it?
I've seen it.
Yeah. Really? I only have one that I can see.
Yeah, and actually sometimes when they remove the teeth, if they have amalgam fillings still, they kind of get, on the tissue. I've seen it that way too. The tattoos.
If you're breaking your amalgam apart to me, and then the nightmare story that I see it on Facebook was the same day of surgery they're removing the mercury fillings. A big mistake. You don't remove mercury. In our office, all metal is removed from the mouth before we open the bone. Right? And then they're detoxing and they're doing all these things. But you can get mercury embedded into the bone. But these lesions are caused from galvanism. And it's caused from the metals. It's not, someone just told me that when you look at these, there's not very much mercury in them. And they're actually all the other, there's silver, tin, and other things that are in these lesions. Someone looked at it in a lab analysis and said that mercury is probably going into your blood. But the other metals are sticking to your collagen in your tissue. Do they need to be taken out? Well, based on that fact, that maybe it's not very much mercury there, certainly if they have a metal allergy, then yes, they all need to be removed. Otherwise, there's been speculation that it's actually bound to the collagen and probably not causing any issue other than potential allergy problem.
I've heard where maybe even like medical setup where there are areas like that, there's like always a cavitation.
Well, I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that. No, but when you study the galvanism, it's number one, you're going to find that there's not a whole lot of great detail out there. It's kind of hard, but it's quite interesting. That's why I put this from 1940. This was published in the JADA, and I found it very interesting. A group of this was sponsored by the ADA, and it was they took dogs and put gold and mercury fillings in their mouth and stuff, and then chopped them up in ADH style, you know, and did these analysis about how the metal, how it moves in the mouth. And it was quite interesting, it was quite detailed. And what they found was that the metal is deposited into the bone underneath the tooth. And it was pretty solid, except for when they stated in their study what was in the amalgam, they forgot to put mercury down there. I mean, it must have been a slip-up. The entire article is written about amalgam and galvanism, and mercury is not mentioned in the entire article. And, you know, so I think that galvanism is a big problem. I mean, I hold, and I don't have any science on this, and I don't have, there it is, but how many times do you see braces come off and it looks like that? That's not from bad oral hygiene. That's from galvanism. You've got a titanium nickel wire, you have metal brackets of a different metal, and you have galvanism, and you have decalcification being caused by the current going through the teeth. And so that you lose minerals as you've got current flow going the whole time. And this is like seen way too often. And you know, we try to belt and the kids still won't brush enough. You know, and what are you going to do? You can't, it's not oral hygiene. I think the smart thing to do for now is to use ceramic brackets.
Ozone will stop that, the white spots.
We'll stop it using it during the
Using oil, like retinue,
Yeah.
daily oil.
Yeah, you could do that, or you could gas it, you could have back every blood and just gas those areas. Because there's research out there that shows that it stops it.
Wow.
What do you use?
Ozone, the stuff you don't use.
But you stop the galvanic action by just removing and only I mean, I don't like nickel titanium wire, but that's all there is. So we have nickel titanium wire with ceramic brackets. Now you have no galvanic flow because you eliminated the other metal. So ceramic, the orthodontists don't like it because the ceramic brackets, oh, they bond. Too bad, you're using it. If you want to do my patient, you use ceramic brackets, right? And then, I don't know the application, but for the ozone, but you must be putting it, brushing with it every day, or you're using it gas.
Yeah, gas the cervical areas or
During the treatment, I mean, how often do you see them during the 2 years?
Every month.
Every month you see them, you ozonate the teeth.
Could you just have them brush with your oil?
Yeah, you could do that.
That's what I was
Also,
thinking.
if they didn't want to in the office, yeah.
Is what he is that? Ozone oil.
Because the ozone oil will wipe teeth too.
Mark, are you doing Reader or Tech on your?
I have a reader meter sitting right next to my computer,
Yeah.
getting ready to use it.
There you go. I have no hygiene.
My purpose of the reader meter is I'm going to try to develop a way that we can tell whether there's mercury underneath the crown. So that people, that's often, they don't want it, they spent $1,500 for that crown last week and nobody wants to admit that there's mercury or not underneath there. Maybe we can put a reader meter on there and we can tell by, you can tell by the current that there is.
As far as liability insurance, I wanted to ask if people here can use ozone and do smart removal. Is that something that's covered on your?
Don't put it on there.
Oh,
But then if you have
don't put it on
there,
there.
I was dropped by MedPro and I had to like search high and low to find someone and I was hoping with that agent piece of stuff that you get that on there.
And don't even put holistic.
No.
No.
They'll search
So
for
what's
it.
the complication with a holistic procedure?
There is none.
Don't have.
They don't have any products with those. No. The insurance companies have put a red flag on holistic dentists. So, and some people have been harassed and some people have been dropped. And I don't know, my insurance company doesn't bother me, but,
The insurance company is only there to cover settlement, if you agree to a settlement, they're not there to defend you. So
Do you know any dentists that lost their license in the US because of the holistic
because of,
the holistic treatment or biologic?
no, no, do you have it there, do you have that kind of pressure there at all?
Not so far.
Because he's trained,
But you're the first.
he's trained royalty.
Well, no, we don't have people losing their license. I mean, we've gone through this back when, maybe 10, 12 years ago, they were harassing people for doing cavitation surgery. No one, I asked in the room the other day, and no one has been harassed in years, at least 7, 8 years, have even been questioned about it because we started showing them those gory pictures, and they, like me, don't want to see that anymore. Because they're like, okay, we understand, so I think they're leaving us alone on that. They used to harass us for taking out mercury fillings. Now they know, unless there's a patient complaint that you told them that their Parkinson's will go away if you take it, then you might get in trouble. Use your smarts, don't worry about insurance, you don't even need it anyway, but if you gotta have
That's a great advice. But she is right, though, because the insurance companies are stopping covering holistic.
They have some insurance companies, but only if you offer that information.
Well, they'll go look at your website. They'll go look at your website, they'll pull it up.
I haven't had any problem, I haven't heard anybody else, but this is first
They
I
might be
heard.
better than everybody else. So.
There's an integrative medicine version of insurance. I was talking to an integrative medicine physician in the area. She was dropped by her like conventional insurance. She was able to find a specific company that covers integrative medicine. So I don't know if that's something there's like an integrated down.
You have, who did you use? There's one dentist advantage.
But you don't tell them what you do. No. Right.
Well, the guy.
So I can keep my MedPro and not tell them what I do.
Right. Yeah, but if you have
Like,
like maybe a little.
So I have this scenario, how the dentist can talk to the patient about scenario like the patient has the amalgam fillings and couple golden crowns all over, like, I mean, is there any situation a dentist can actually get in trouble talking about galvanism? Because this Dr. Douglas Cook from Wisconsin, who retired like 3 years ago, he was actually harassed about the galvanism, and I believe they argued about his equipment. There was, he measured the galvanic current in his office, and he eventually retired. But it's, and actually, apparently, dentists in my area told me that it's actually illegal for them to have the equipment and measure the galvanism, in the office, because according to AIAOMT science, it doesn't exist. So
it's taught in dental school.
So is it safe for dentists to talk about it? Like,
Of course.
We can,
Of
but.
course, you can talk about that.
Maybe we just say this quadrant, or if they decide to go by quadrant dentistry.
but do they have to prove it, like show it?
No, it's your responsibility to talk about galvanism.
When they get it back.
They're not coming after, they know, this is an ADA study.
Yeah.
They damn well know that there's a galvanic problem, they're keeping their mouth shut. And I would suggest to my patient, if they wanted to get somebody in trouble, you should sue the ADA.
So
Because that's who's keeping it quiet.
So like
This is nonsense.
Maybe just don't measure it.
This thing of allowing dental implants to go into people's mouths who's got mercury fillings and gold crowns, and the ADA is turning their head, this is something that really, really irritates me. And I have seen it in my practice. I take out a metal bridge, and the patient is crying when they come back because now they can sleep and they haven't slept in 10 years.
So that's
galvanism.
That's the only thing about the ADA that bothers you?
Just hit one point, all right? One little earthy point. And the galvanism is so obvious to me that it's just like disgusts me. And along with the galvanism comes corrosion. And it causes corrosion, and what's corrosion do? Well, corrosion brings, it's so bad. What did he do to my slides?
Just make it
He changed the thing. I'm so sorry about that. But the corrosion it creates is more more metal you're being exposed to all the time. So it's a problem. If you guys, I don't know if you want me to play this, but this is an awesome video that you should have for your patients. And do you want to see it? Has everyone seen it?
No,
No, I
that
haven't.
one did it.
This is good. And, do we have the sound hook up on here? All right, sorry.
Maybe that's-
Let me see. Jim, do you just do one plug for the sound? Or do you know?
What do you,
Isn't there just one more plug that you got for the sound?
if we have a speaker to plug to,
There's those.
you should be able to turn
You have to go find it.
There's a speaker above the.
Let's see.
Looks like a speaker.
That's
This is something like.
One here. Right.
All right, let's see if we can hear it.
and what they
I mean, let's see where they're going, so.
What's that one? All right. Let's see if we can hear it.
Some people are actually. Have you done patients that have actually had time methods, which is kind of costing sometimes on dental they were like removed and just that's crazy. So I think is it right? So is it like not a problem okay? Blood extension procedure or?
All right, we try it with the,
and to show the power of combining metals to create electricity. Use it today to show the power of combining metals in a person's mouth to create a potato clock in your head.
now you're not going to be able to see it probably.
Here are two potatoes, each with zinc and a copper strip embedded in them. It takes 2 cells of zinc and copper to run this little digital clock. When you hook them all up, the potato clock starts to run. Got it? Here's a variety of dental metals that are embedded in a potato, ready to go. This one is a pure titanium implant. This one is a titanium alloy implant. Here is a lump of amalgam. This one is the remnant of a Maryland bridge, a nickel chromium alloy. Here is the remnant of a crown, porcelain fused to mystery metal. Here is an ingot of high gold content, crown and bridge gold. And here is a bridge of porcelain fused to some kind of yellow, crown and bridge gold. Here is one copper and zinc cell, and here is another potato with the variety of dental metals that we just described embedded into it. Let's see what happens when we hook them up. Here is a
See if it'll stay up there.
pure titanium implant.
Nope, sorry.
And here is some gold. We get a potato clock. Yes, we are. Here's another gold alloy, and it is lighting up. A mystery gold alloy. And there we go, we get the contact. Here is a titanium alloy implant versus yellow gold, and that lights up the potato clock. Here's some crown and bridge gold. Here's a white gold alloy. And here's some amalgam. And you'll notice that the two electronegative metals do not light up the potato clock. Here is a remnant of a Maryland bridge, nickel chromium alloy. And that lights up the potato clock. And gold, and the white gold. There we go. What about amalgam? Here is a lump of amalgam. What does that do with a pure gold alloy? It's the potato clock. Crown of rich gold. White gold alloy. What about titanium alloy versus amalgam? No. Two electronegative metals. We dentists pick metals for people's dental restorations on the basis of mechanical properties and durability. But we rarely take into account the electrical properties of the metals. This little demonstration shows how by randomly selecting metals for people's dental restorations, it's the equivalent of creating a potato clock in their heads.
So you could get that, and I show that to my patients, I send that to my patients all the time. I think it's a wonderful video. I apologize that somehow the settings have been changed in my computer and you can't see everything it's doing, but it's really a great, video to share because it's so simple. And when you have these currents in the mouth and next to your brain, it causes problems. And sometimes it's the galvanism, it's not the allergy, it's not the toxicity. And so you have to think about all of those things because they're all can be present. And even different amalgams themselves, because it depends on the galvanism, depends on the electronegativity difference. And even different alloys can have current between them. So that if you have different amalgams done at different times and high copper alloys, they conduct electricity. So, look at, this was just like looking at the different metals that we use. This, I called for one of my patients that was having an implant problem, and that was the content of the implant that they gave me. I didn't study tantalum. What the heck is that? I don't even know. So I was amazed what was in an implant, And they don't release that unless you really call them and say, I gotta have this, I have a patient with a problem.
Is this PowerPoint going to be available on the?
Yeah, it's on Prezi, and so you should be able to know Prezi. So it's an inter cloud-based thing, so you can go to Prezi. You just have to sign up
But it's not on the crowd campus for this weekend.
It's not on this weekend, no, because I'm really lame and I don't do it until like 2 weeks before. I could see if she could add it. I think she'd add the link because it sits on Prezi. It doesn't sit on my computer. So you can go to Prezi. You can get all kinds of. But you can go to Prezi and request mine. And you can see everyone that I've done. I leave them on there. But so be aware of your implants as a problem. Here's a gold. This is probably the worst thing you can do. Put a gold custom abutment on top with a titanium implant with a different titanium screw. And this person was reported to talk to Russia from U.S. But this here I thought was interesting. A mercury filling in the gold, and when you see it, you see the darkness in the tube. It's because the galvanic current is actually pulling the metals out of the restoration, and it's being deposited into the tube. Now, if you get there's a study in a book that I'll show you in a second that showed where they looked at putting gold crowns on mercury fillings, which is a common thing we find, and that they know the current drives the mercury directly into the bone underneath. The kind of the way that the things flow between these metals, I'm trying to figure that out myself, but that's why because you see these gold restorations, they're gorgeous. They have the tooth's like perfect, but as soon as you see darkness, it's always because there's galvanic activity in gold. going on. You take out a mercury filling underneath, you have a mercury filling under a gold crown, and the tooth is like black mush. The mercury and all the metals are going straight through the tooth and into the bone. And oftentimes they will ruin the tooth, and it may not be restorable. You put these kind of, this kind of metal partial, the cobalt thing, that's a whole other issue,
So
allergy.
when you do this same amount of removal, and you remove the tooth is staying. Do you remove all the stain on the tooth too, or you just do the ozone and just clean the tooth?
No, because like I said, so it's a galvanic thing where the black stain goes to the pulp and into the bone. So if you want to remove the black stain, you're going to expose the nerve.
Leave it on the wall.
I do as much as I can personally. I go with the idea that it's bound to collagen, so that it's not going to be a problem. So I remove it as it is practical until it seems like I have solid tissue, and then for myself, no more staining. There's no caries stain being absorbed there, and then I leave it. I have very few exposures in my practice when I'm working on teeth.
You have ozone, so what do you care if you expose or not?
Because ozonated teeth will also blow up later.
You think so?
Yeah. Don't you think so?
Well, not if you're mechanically exposed.
They have on me, so I don't trust any. I have yet to see a pulp capping procedure that is predictable. I don't expose. I leave it short. I ozonate the heck out of it.
Well, let's put some extra ozone.
You said you ozonate the heck out of it?
Yeah.
But you said ozonated teeth blow up later?
No, on direct pulp caps. He was talking about, I don't want to have a direct pulp cap. Yeah, and so if I have a direct pulp cap, I have very little faith that it's going to work at all.
None of mine blown up.
I think there are some things they're working on, stem cells, different things they're working on that probably you can do it, and I'm not saying it doesn't. I don't know. I'm not aware of it. Do you have?
Well, I pulled it in a study up where it was irreversible, and they injected the exosomes and they pulled it back to help me.
I want to do that.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah, I don't know about it. It's new to me. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying I don't know about it. And Eliza, like we talked about, it's a T cell test. It's not an antibody test. All right, Peyton. Thank you. Have a good trip home, my friend.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So detoxification. Number one, most important thing is you need to detox. Not your patient, you. You need to detox every day that you're in the dental office. You breathe mercury, your dental office has mercury in the air. I don't care if you're clean or not, you cannot be clean. After you saw what Warwick studied, the study shows that was done with all the everything in place. There's still particulate everywhere. When you rent the meter, you bring it to your office. You come into your office in the morning and the meter goes whoop. And so everyone in your office is breathing mercury all day. Your body can't handle it. Eventually it bioaccumulates and you need to detox. And if you're not detoxing on a regular basis, your cup is full. That's why most people are here, because they're already having symptoms, they're already having problems. The cup is full. So if you're not helping your body to detox, urging it along, I would suggest that you would consider this kinds of liposomal-based detoxification as being the most predictable. Redizord was here. I like the Redizord product, but it tastes pretty tough. The Shade's got the best tasting glutathione, but none of it tastes good. So those two products are probably the best glutathiones on the market that I know of for nano-sized particulate absorption. Perk is the company I mentioned earlier, and Fullscript. If anyone doesn't know about Fullscript, I sign my patients up for Fullscript, and they can buy everything they want on Fullscript. You can set them up to get full discount at your price, or you can take a little bit if you want for your trouble of keeping them in supplements. So detoxification for yourself, I wanted to emphasize, and then detoxification for your patients, because they're not taking out their mercury is one thing, but helping them to detox is another. This is the simple way that you can do it. You don't just use the glutathione. You're using this push catch kind of stuff, and you're going to get that from the shade lectures. Or if you want to look at my protocol, but you're better off just to really understand it for yourself and develop something, and probably there's some essential oil stuff that you can add to make it. But one thing I do not believe is that you can detox without upregulating the glutathione system. So you need to be able to, and some people are blocked. So some people say, oh, I'm going to use zeolite, oh, I'm going to use clay. Doesn't work. Sorry, it doesn't work.
So can you make yourself tested before you do that?
I don't test. I've never had to test. I was almost dead. So yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And so my patients generally choose not to test because we know, oh, you got chronic athlete's feet, oh, you have anxiety, and the very interesting thing that I learned, you can watch your patient as you interview them in that first appointment, and they blush. And they constantly blush because they're in sympathetic mode. And so, and that's a very obvious trait of a person who's mental toxic, is why you're talking to them, because their mind's going like this, and they're thinking, oh, I shouldn't have said that, oh, I forgot that, what's the name of that word? Their mind's going like this, and they're constantly blushing with this kind of anxiety. They're sympathetic. And the idea of getting all of the metals out and getting your life in order is going to put you into parasympathetic. And it's a wonderful thing. You grow your hair and stuff like that happens. It's really unbelievable stuff. So, detoxification, you got to either you're going to help your patient and you're going to do it yourself on your own, or you're going to get a functional medicine or someone to help you that you trust in their method, in the methodology. So here are the books that I recommend that everyone should consider reading. These, I think, are certainly essential. Every person that comes to you is going to be know about Weston Price, and you should have a good understanding of what Weston Price did. The dental fluid transport book is like most important for you to understand actually how decay happens in your mouth, and all of a sudden you have a whole new picture of what's going on with your patient's teeth, and you're not having them brush harder and floss more because it has very little to do with it at all. The medicine's grandest flaw, you're probably going to have a hard time finding that one. That's a thesis that was written, and it tells the history of how cavitations were covered up. It's quite interesting. Blanche gave us a little overview about the history and how that was, give you a little more confidence of why you don't know about cavitations. Of course, Dr. Yu's books are fascinating in understanding this kind of EAV stuff. And this book here is very hard. The Strombecker book, hard to find. I got that book for maybe $30. Someone told me they paid $200 for it. It's out of print, but it has some awesome information. It's a very small book. You can get that book, it's good. And now I'm reading right now this bioregulatory medicine book. This is they just opened a new clinic in Providence, Rhode Island. It's Rao, and Dr. Rao and Paracelsus Clinic, who have this is their thing, and it's really kind of lays it out there. Basically, your body wants to be well. Use some purging, and you can get yourself well, and it's just some techniques that they suggest that they use, and it's kind of an overview of the medicine and the viewpoint, and I think it fits our viewpoint very well, and so it's quite a nice book, but I'm only halfway through it, but I like the book. I thought it was worth me saying that if you're interested in reading about our field, it's kind of a nice book that they put together. So, these are our machines. This is the ozone machines, which some of you are familiar with. This down below is the Mercury-3000 sniffer. You can rent that from the front office and check your office. You're going to find everywhere that you have mercury. If you learn to be careful with your gloves because when you throw them away after mercury removal, that now is emitting that garbage is emitting mercury. Your autoclave area is it's a cloud. So when you autoclave your instruments, you're getting a cloud of mercury coming from there. Your ultrasonic cloud of mercury coming from there. It's quite interesting to sniff around your office and see what's going on.
What is the official name of that sniffer? Official name?
Of the Mercury-3000.
No, name.
That is the
It's
name.
called Mercury-3000?
Yeah, Mercury-3000. Yeah, there's a longer company name, but if you search that, you're going to find it. It's a Mercury-3000 for measuring mercury vapor. It's the state-of-the-art. They have also Gerometer, but the Mercury-3000 does this constant sniffing. We call it the sniffer, and you get instant readings from. You can move it around, and it's a little bit different than how the Jerome works. So we kind of went to the Mercury-3000. It's a very new one, might be $30,000.
Where do you rent it from?
But you get it from the front office at the IAOMT. We have one. You have to pay the shipping. Pay the shipping, I think, and you can get it for a week or a couple of weeks or something. But I think it was fun to bring it to my office, and Dave was amazing with his observation of the cupping and getting mercury out of the skin. I thought that was pretty cool.
So basically, we're in a toxic profession. This is my observation from my 4 days here, and we work on ourselves and try to help our patients.
I think you first make sure you work on yourself, because you're going to have a clear head. And that was, I fumbled around at the beginning because I was toxic, and it was tough at first. And as you get more and more clear in your own head, you'll be able to help your patients more and more. Yeah,
I can see there's no one in Central Canada doing this. There are people from my city and my province going to the States, and I can see if I start doing some of the components of this, even just smart removal, there's going to be so much backlash.
I know
the community.
We have, but
I'm already obliged.
No, but we have smart certified dentists throughout Canada. So why would they pick on you? You got that bad of a reputation? Get the essential oil,
Anything new,
they're afraid of you.
anything new is
That's okay. It's a service. Smart is a service. I decided this is an international offered service. I decided to be a provider. I don't force it. You could choose. Right? You could either come to me and have smart, or you're gonna have to go somewhere else because I don't do it without smart. It's that simple.
Do you charge a fee for it?
Absolutely. Well, I charge $150 per visit, and so $155, I think. But so if it's 1 or it's 5, it's still the same. Yep. So most of my patients come for half a day, and we do as much as we can, and they get 1 fee. Some people charge as much as $300. Some people charge per tube, and I'm very comfortable with the $150. Although I'm not a production office, I'm a doctor, and I try to make it. I'm a cash office, and I try to make it feasible for people to do things. and this is just where I've arrived. I started out charging 50, then I was 75, and then recently I got my tax bill and I thought it should be 155. So, you know, you have to make these decisions, and there's, people charge, everyone charges pretty much, everyone charges something. I think it really slows you down. You have to throw away a lot of stuff, and you have to have a lot of education and test your patience to do it. You have to put on the mask. Most importantly, the shield was what Dave taught me this meeting, that the shield was most important.
What do you do if you wear loops?
Shield. I use a shield that hangs around my neck that sits here and it sits on my chest like that.
Okay.
And I have 8 loops, so they're like this long. There are other shields that you put on your head. Now, I've seen one guy cut a hole so that he could have his loops sticking out, but now
It defeats the purpose.
Pardon?
It defeats the purpose then.
I agree, and then some people say they do mercury remove without loops on it, and I can't even look at all.
So do you wear like the half mask to accommodate your loops?
Me, I wear the big mercury mask with
Yeah.
the two. Yep.
But the one that-
Oh yeah, that one. But you can use the charcoal activated filter one. We don't have solid science, but it looks like it works okay. Throw them away once a month. I use the big one, and but yeah, you got to charge. You got to put the stuff on, get it all on. You're ready to go, and then the hygiene light comes on. Jesus, you know, I should have done that. You know, you'll figure it out. You'll figure out, but you got to charge something because you're definitely foregoing profit doing it. That other machine up there, this is that AccuPort machine that I got for use class. Whoops, we already did that. Let's go. All right. So this is how it is. Oh, sorry. I am so bad this time with my thing. This is how it is in biologic dentistry, right? And so this is how the rest of your life is going to be. This is how it will be. But we climb mountains because we love climbing.
Well, it makes you feel alive. That's the bottom line, right? If you're not climbing, there's no point.
I'm telling you, in here, do not let them bother you. Okay? Do not work in fear. You work out of confidence and you know your science, and they control you in fear. So do not let them scare you. Thank you for coming. Because it is most important that you just keep learning and be very confident in what you do, and do not be afraid. They're not coming to get you. You know, they're not coming to get you. They'll leave you alone. Mostly, I think what happens in the U.S. is that the boards leave you alone because they don't even know what questions to ask. They don't know what to ask. You know, they just don't.
I think I actually just fell into the rabbit hole. I was doing really well right up until about an hour ago.
I'd like to know what the shield is.
Pardon?
What is the shield?
The shield, because you're drilling mercury or any metal, for that matter, if you're removing a metal crown, you need to have a full smart protocol on, and there's a face shield that blocks the splatter, the particulate, that kind of shield. I'm trying to think in my mind. I'm still trying to think of some kind of, when I retire, I got to have some kind of shield that we can pull up, and then and that you can work underneath, and then you can throw it away. Yeah, I like that too. I like that. You should have a dirty room, really. If you're designing an office, you should have a dirty room where you only do mercury removal. It has its own air system, and it's separate from the office. That would be the ideal. And your autoclave, your sterilization area, should be a chemical hood. It should be under a chemical hood because there's a lot of vapor coming from there. So those kinds of things and thoughts you need to in your everyday, and you'll get better and better. And at first, you're going to realize you're doing some things wrong. I mean, like when your patient's charged should not come into the room. If you still old like me and use paper, you shouldn't be touching the counter in that mercury room because it's covered with particulate, and you instantly absorb mercury into your skin when you touch the walls when your assistant is cleaning up that room. She should be protected, and because there's particulate everywhere. So, thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.